Welcome everyone to the Not Your Average Nutrition Workshop. I am Dr. Jamie. For those attending online, thank you guys so much for being here. Those who are here in person, yes! I love having people. I always joke that I don't joke. I actually don't love talking to my phone because it's a little awkward. So it's nice to see some faces here. Thank you guys for coming down. And of course, you'll get credit for the workshop. Funny thing happened this week. So Monday, I'm in my, doing my adjustments. And one of my patients who've been with me for a really long time came up to me. She goes, "Oh, your nutrition workshop's kind of again." I go, "Yeah." And she's like, "Because I do it every year." And she goes, "Wow, I remember attending that in like 2015, and your hot topics, the things you talk about, are more hot topics now than they were 10 years ago." And she's like, "You're really ahead of your time." I started laughing. I was like, "Well, I like to be like on top of stuff." And of course, me listening to every podcast and trying to go to as many seminars where there's amazing, like, homeopathic, holistic, functional health doctors. And I love listening to that stuff. And I love educating myself. So I thought that was really funny. And she's not wrong. I was actually going through these slides and updating some of the information. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, this is way more relevant now than ever before. And so if you're tuning in at home, I'm so glad you did. Thank you. Thank you for coming and welcome to our Not Your Average Nutrition Workshop. So why is a chiropractor talking about this? And every single time I teach nutrition class, whether it's in my office or at a company or organization, people are always like, "Wait, you're a chiropractor. Like, why are you teaching nutrition?" Well, guess what? We're the ones who learn nutrition. A lot of people don't know that, which is funny. I'm actually speaking at Merrimack College next Friday, and I'm doing, I do like a little guest lecture class on why to become a chiropractor. And honestly, I always say to the kids, I'm like, find what you love. Like, I love my job. I get to hang out with the coolest people all day. Molly and I were talking about it. She just hit her 2-month anniversary with me. And she's like, we really have the coolest people that come in here. We really do. That's why it's so much fun to be a part of this office. But everyone's always like, why a chiropractor? And I love I get to speak to the Merrimack kids because I get to teach them this. A lot of people don't know. We learn nutrition in chiropractic school. It's a huge part of our program versus medical school that if you're lucky, they have an elective and it's about 16 hours. That's it. We have to take 2 classes. Biochemistry is incorporated into that. And, we're the ones that are really educated. I always say that when, it's a 4-year doctorate, just like medical school, the middle 2 years when they're learning big pharma, don't ask me, it's not my scope. We're learning nutrition and how to take x-rays as well as radiologists and read x-rays. So that's the big difference. And so this is why a chiropractor is teaching nutrition because, and of course, as if you know me, and a lot of you in here have known me actually a long time, which is funny, you know that I'm kind of an overachiever. The best is this was Parker's seminar a few years ago, and one of my mentors who I love very much, and she was a business coach of mine for a while. Now she's a great friend of mine, was making fun of me at this seminar. Everyone's there to see like Michael Phelps. It was a keynote. I was there to see Dr. Perlmutter and Dr. Hyman because I just read all their books, and it was awesome. I actually got to meet both of them, make them smile, make them laugh, and it was really cool because I love reading nerdy books. And now it's more I listen to the nerdy podcast so you don't have to. So that's also going to probably go on my tombstone. So a bit of an overachiever. Of course, I have my neuroscience background, physiology, behavior from UC Davis, to courses in nutrition, biochemistry, and then of course chiropractic school is big on that. And then all these postdoctorate classes I've taken, whether it's wellness, nutrition classes, pediatric classes, of course, nutrition's incorporated that. But like I said, I'm a podcast nerd. If you ever invite me skiing, don't take offense if I don't want to drive with you. The reason I like driving by myself is because I get to catch up on my podcast. Ever since I moved 2 blocks that way, I don't get to listen in the car to podcasts anymore. So if I have a long drive, I'm listening to a nerdy podcast. My best friend Leslie always laughs at me. She knows this. We go meet at Ragged, which is about 2 hours, a little under 2 hours. So it's perfect for podcasts. And I'll get to and I'm all like, pumped. Like, mind you, it's like 9 o'clock in the morning when the mountain opens. I'm like pumped about whatever I just listened to. And she'll walk up, she's like, "What were you listening to?" I'm like, "I am so jazzed about micronutrients right now." And she just makes fun of me. And then of course, one time I was talking about like cholesterol. It was a really great interview with a cardiologist, and just about like the myths of HDL. It was a great controversial but incredibly important lecture. So I'll talk about cholesterol a little bit tonight. But it was just such a great podcast. Of course, we're sitting on the lift and she goes, "You need to catch me off on what you just listened to. I want to hear all about it." And so if you ever see me really jazzed at a ski mountain, it's because I just listened to a podcast I was really into. It's really funny. You'll catch me listen to this ridiculousness. But you know what's funny? And this is funny. Now I have two copies of this book on my desk by accident because I actually wanted to read his new book. But it all comes down to one thing, and I love Michael Pollan. If you're ever really overwhelmed and you need somewhere to start when it comes to nutrition, his book In Defense of Food. He wrote an Omnivore's Dilemma and Food Inc. Those were his famous ones. But I think his second book was the best. In Defense of Food was my favorite, is my favorite. I have two copies on my desk if you want to borrow it. His whole thing is eat food, not too much, mostly plants. And I really think that's what it comes down to. Like, it's simple as that. Eat real food, not processed food. Eat more plants, and just not too much. And then he goes on and says, well, if you guys do want to read the rest of the book, go ahead. But that's basically what I'm going to talk about. And it's actually a really good book. If you guys want to borrow it, it is on my desk. So where are we going with this workshop? This is what makes me laugh because these are all kind of hot topics right now. First and foremost, we're going to talk about protein. Why? Because everyone's talking about protein. I love the memes because I'm really into perimenopause, menopausal health with women and hormones and all. Oh, I love women's health. I'm in a big rabbit hole of that right now. And I feel like the memes that are on my algorithm are, I've never been so obsessed with protein in my life because everything is protein, protein, protein when it comes to women's health, but it's important for men's health as well. We'll talk about why protein is important. And it's such a buzz thing right now. So, of course, I had to add it even last year. The gut, oh my God, gut flora. We're finally talking about it. So we'll get you guys caught up on the basics of that and talk about genetically modified organisms and why they're a problem with the gut, among other things. We're also going to talk about, and then of course I'm going to add a little bit about glyphosate and pesticides. Huge hot topic right now. Been talking about this for 10 years. I remember we watched the documentary by Jeff Smith about probably over a decade ago in here. I used to do movie nights before we had like Netflix. And we would sit and watch cool documentaries. And one of them was about GMOs, which was eye opening. It wasn't King Corn, it was the one before that. It was really good. Our seed, speaking of corn, is seed oils evil? We hear a lot about seed oils, seed oils, seed oils. And we're going to talk about them as well and how they fit into our diets. We're going to talk about vitamin D and cholesterol. Like I said, I always have to talk about vitamin D, especially in New England. But talk about fat. I'm going to just touch upon that. I think that was more when the keto diet was a big thing. Meat, dairy, or not at all, because I feel like that's a big, meat, no meat, what's healthier, and just talk about that. Collagen, which as you all know, I've been selling in my office for a long time because I saw Dr. Josh Ask speak. He wrote a great book about it. He was like the founder of Ancient Nutrition, why collagen is so important, especially for women, women's health. We'll talk about that too. And then my head is spinning. Where do I start? And I think that's what it really comes down to is I'm not here to overwhelm you guys with information. It's all about just making small changes, and we'll talk about how to implement this and just make little choices make huge impacts on your health. So let's talk about protein. I mean, protein does all kinds of awesome things, right? Obviously, build muscle. It's the big thing with protein. But if you think about protein is so important. Our hair, right? We need protein. We hear a lot about, drugs that curb appetite. Well, guess what? Add more protein to your diet, your appetite will get smaller. One of my favorite people to follow on Instagram is called the Glucose Goddess, and she talks a lot about sugar and insulin spikes. You want to curb hunger. Sugar will make you more hungry, especially in food chemicals. Eating protein first, eating veggies and protein first before your carbohydrates will actually make you fuller faster. It's always like the salad trick where you eat like a salad or your protein first, and then you eat carbohydrates less. You have less insulin spike, which means you'll be less hungry later on. That's why sugary breakfasts are really bad because you're going to get hunger cravings by the end of the morning. So whether it's like cereal, and I hate to say it, most oatmeals have big spikes. Yogurt can have big spikes in sugar. So eating some protein, whether it's eggs, eggs are a great source of protein. And actually that's one of my examples. 2 eggs, 20 grams of protein. So if you're trying to hit 80 grams of protein, there you go. That's a great start for the day, and it keeps you full longer. Eggs are actually really fun just to boil and have in your fridge for snacks. They're great snacks, which we'll talk about later about snacks, and the correct snacks will keep you full longer and not make you hungry very quickly after because there's no sugar spike, no carbohydrate spike, right? AIDS disease prevention, obviously insulin, we just talked about sugar. It slows down that insulin spike, which is so important because diabetes, my God, so many awful conditions. Sugar is like the start of all things bad in our body. So being able to curb that insulin spike, that hormone spike is huge. But also like more energy, better sleep, huge for protein. Oh, you're fine. I won't charge. At Rotary Club, we do fine for that, but I'm not going to find anyone here for that. So But when it comes to protein, there's a lot of buzz about more protein, protein shakes. If you got my email, you'll see my recipe for protein balls, and so you really want to pick a good protein to put in that, or it's not the healthiest. When you look for protein, always organic over non-organic. Um, Careful with whey. Like I can't eat dairy because I have super horrible dairy sensitivities, dairy allergy. So when you're eating whey, that's a dairy product. If the cows are not grass fed, you're eating a whole lot of corn and it's going to be insanely inflammatory. Also, a lot of whey, if you have a lot of sinus issue, ear infections, that kind of thing, you want to really make like limit that dairy. In the homeopathic world, we always say that like kids with ear infections, sinus issues, that's a dairy thing. Like you got to limit that. You're eating too much dairy or try to not eat it. Um, and also, there could be hormones in that as well. We'll talk about that a little bit when we go over dairy. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Artificial sweeteners, oh my God, some of these protein shakes are full of artificial sweeteners, which, you know what's funny? Another study on an artificial sweetener just came out last week about how bad it is for us. Dude, have we not gotten the clue yet? Like, stop with the artificial sweeteners. They're terrible for us. Every time one comes out, we find out later on that it actually caused more harm, right? Um, Carrageenan, monodisaccharides, those are terrible. Carrageenan, actually watch out for ice cream, very high in breast cancer, 32% higher breast cancer with carrageenan intake, prostate cancer. We're seeing that. Just be careful with this stuff. I would avoid it at all costs, especially if you're, like I said, if you're eating ice cream, you could find carrageenan in it. There's plenty of ice creams without it, and especially local ice cream shops. We have great local ice cream shops here, and they also have non-dairy ice cream at my favorite one locally. And of course, look for how much sugar in it. Of course, you know, it's funny. I love protein bars, but you really have to be careful that you're not eating a candy bar. It is wild how much sugar are in some of these protein bars. So you're really not doing yourself a favor by eating these high sugar bars because it's not going to keep you full longer. So very important to check how much sugar is actually in your protein bars. And of course, multi-level marketing. We used to see this in California. I see some of them here. Watch out for those nutrition shops, nutrition places where you just get shakes and they're literally just throwing chemicals blended up and handed to you and call it a protein shake and call it healthy. That's not healthy. You're eating chemicals. So having like whole food based shakes much better for you. So just careful and always ask them like, you know, I know you can like I was at the YMCA the other day for a meeting and they have like you can add protein to their shakes. I'm like, well, what protein are you adding? So just because you're adding protein or collagen, you want to make sure it's a good source. Always ask them, where do you get your protein from? Let me see it. Let me see the label. Don't just fall into that trap. So, all right, let's get into gut flora. This is like one of my favorite things to teach. And I think it's really funny that now we're hearing about like gut flora and how important it is. And I remember when I first opened my practice, I actually saw this little kid who had horrible neurologic issues, little kiddo. And he wasn't crawling and he's been on antibiotics, horrible, like traumatic birth, antibiotics his whole life. And I said to the parents, I was like, hey, like we really should get him on some probiotics, right? Well, they talked to their Boston Children's pediatrician who said, I don't like the idea of putting bacteria in a kid's body. This was like when I first opened my office, like what, 14 years ago. And I'm so mad because if I had the sass and the experience I had nowadays, and we didn't have Amazon to do this back then, I would have gone on Amazon and I would have gift wrapped him because you know you could do that. Dr. Perlmutter's Brain Maker, send it to him and say, you have some light reading to do. Because is that a disservice to that kid? Because this guy just made up that he didn't know anything. And now they're giving kids probiotics and they're actually prescribing them. So I'm like, dude, and this poor kid, he needed it so bad, right? So why do we need gut flora? All right, so for all you germaphobes out there, never take a microbiology class A, and B, you never want to study gut flora because you will learn that you have so many bacteria we have a lot of bacteria in our body. We live in symbiosis, which means we live happily with them. Well, most of them if they're healthy bacteria, and that's what we want to see. You have 100 trillion bacteria in your gut. Woo! Your bacteria, I love this stat. Your bacteria outnumbers your cells 10 to 1. I'm sorry if you're a germaphobe, right? Uh, it's also called the second brain. Your gut's called the second brain, your enteric system, because you have so much nerve supply, so much neurons down there. It's second to your brain. Very cool stuff. It's the first line of defense. They're kind of like your soldiers. By the way, you guys think everything we eat's clean? It's hilarious, right? That's why even like, I mean, washing hands, yes, is important, but it's insane when we sterilize everything, right? Don't get me started with some of I think it's gotten better with some of the parents. I've had to like literally sit down parents and be like, you need to stop. Your kid is sick all the time because you're rubbing him down with antibacterial soap. Like, you need to stop. Like, this is why this poor kid has allergies too. But they're so important. They're a first line of defense. I love, do you guys remember Mythbusters back in the day? Okay, so one of my favorite episodes is they did a Seinfeld theme. And if you remember, George did the double dip. And what they wanted to see is if it really is true that if you double dip, not saying you guys should go to parties and double dip, but if you double dip, let's see if there's more bacteria in it. So they got the dip or whatever. And did you know what they found out? The dip already had a ton of bacteria in it even before he dipped it at all. So it just shows that we're constantly, you see kids putting stuff in their mouth, oh my gosh, at one of my pediatric classes, they showed us a study. You guys are going to kill me for saying this, and I don't care because I'm in a sassy mood, tired but sassy. There was a study that was done that said kids who eat their boogers are healthier. And the best was, and gets better. One of the doctors, right, who's in the classes, we did our postdoctorate classes for pediatric chiropractors, and you see this poor guy in the back, like, do one of these. And he's like, and the professor called on him. He goes, my wife and I get into this argument a lot over our toddler. And I was just laughing, like, and I wanted to tease like one of my family members, like, oh, this is why you're so smart because you used to eat your boogers, right? So funny. But it makes sense. It's bacteria. I don't say you should eat your boogers. I think it's kind of nasty, but like, but kids, why do you think they put everything in their mouth? They're trying to build this gut, this wonderful gut flora. First line for defense. Like I said, not everything we eat is clean. Most of it's not. So we need them for that. They're so amazing for digestion. I think that's one of the big things when I put a patient on probiotics or I talked about probiotics. One of the number one things you see right away is your digestion improves. I mean, that's like par for the course. If you're taking a good probiotic, you should see your digestion improve. Vitamins, it helps with mixed vitamins. It helps with nutrients, allows food to pass through easier. Really great for constipated kids and actually adults for that too. And I think we see so many digestive issues. Um, Favorite label, IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, right? Why the hell is it irritable? Like, they're giving you a label, but they're not telling you why. Is it something you're eating? Is it your gut bacteria? Is it both? We need to get to the root cause of it, and usually this could be the case. It also decreases inflammation, hence inflammatory bowel syndrome. Um, and of course, inhibits cancer growth. I mean, we're seeing a lot of colon cancer. Could have to do with your gut microbiome, right? Maintains the cell wall, which is so important in the gut because leaky gut syndrome is a big problem. It can lead to major issues. Celiacs sometimes have it. If you don't want leaky gut syndrome, it's not good. But most importantly, and this is what I think is really interesting, and I really wish that we took a more holistic approach when it comes to anxiety and depression, because serotonin is not, it's 80 to 90% is actually made in your gut, not in your brain. So if you're depressed, you know, you should be looking at your gut flora. They should be doing gut flora panels. And yes, they do have GI mapping now where you can actually get your gut tested to find out what you need. So why aren't we starting there versus putting them on the serotonin drug, which if you put a hormone in your body stops making it. And then that's why you see crashes and suicidal thoughts and homicidal thoughts go with those drugs, because now once you stop them, your body crashes, stops making serotonin. So it's like, I don't know, I know why, but I don't know why we're not starting with the gut when it comes to even brain disorders and brain issues. This is where we really should be starting. So I guess probiotics do make you a happier person. Oh, maybe that's why I'm usually a happy person. I've been taking my probiotics for a very long time. But here's some signs of an unhealthy gut, which people don't realize. There's so many that the tiny little font. I had to make a really tiny font because everything is linked to this gut, right? Digestive issues. No crap, Sherlock. Get it? Crap. Get it? Thanks. You're welcome. So make sure you're all awake. Foggy brain, depression can be an unhealthy gut. Senior moments, forgetfulness, allergies, asthma, immune issues has to do with it. Diabetes, obesity. Don't get me started. I think I did add this, the part about diabetes and obesity studies with gut. With I'll get to it. It's gross and wonderful. Eczema is usually, if we see eczema in kids, it has to do with their gut. Constipated babies, constipated parents, whatever. I don't care. Constipated everybody. If it's not going out one way, it's going to come out another. So in the homeopathic world, when we see skin issues, you go to the gut. You find out how's your digestion going. Putting a kid on probiotics, it's amazing. Their eczema goes away. And it's really funny because people think I'm crazy. And then finally they listen to me 8 months later, all of a sudden their kid's eczema's gone. It's like probiotics, put them on a good probiotic. Urinary tract infections, sleep issues, which I think is interesting. Um, And if there's any reason to make sure your gut is great, it decreases your subcutaneous fat. We don't want that, right? I guess. But it decreases your fat by 3%. All right, so here's it's not it's this is not a new study. In 2014, that's what I said 10 years ago I was talking about this. They did some studies where they did fecal transplants. And yes, that's exactly what you guys think it means. They took there used to be a poop bank in Cambridge. You used to be able to get paid to poop at a poop bank. And what they would do is they would take healthy poop and transplant it to people who had unhealthy guts. And guess what they saw? Improvement, but yeah, improvement overall. Obese people, they lost 5% of their body fat, and it's crazy. They were reversing diabetes. Um, very, very cool stuff by doing that. I don't know if how I feel about going to a poop bank, but you know what? It just shows clean up your gut, amazing things happen, right? So that's why it's so important. That's why we're talking about it. But why are all our guts so screwed up? I mean, so many reasons. Overuse of antibiotics. My gosh, I was the generation of every cough we got antibiotics for everything. No wonder I have a dairy allergy. No wonder I have I have such bad food sensitivity issues. I was the antibiotic generation. This is why I'm constantly working on my gut. And of course, medicinally is pretty bad. 4 out of 5 Americans take antibiotics every year. And then the food we eat, a lot of the meat, 75% of antibiotics are actually used in cattle. So you want to get chicken and you want to get meat with no hormones, no antibiotics, or else you're taking those antibiotics. C-sections. We actually get our first out of the guy. I love it that I have guys here. Usually, I don't know. I usually it's like women that come to my workshop. Probably because I say things like this. The poor guys are going to look at me funny. Vaginal birth. You're getting your first gulp of bacteria. So important for your digestive tract as you're forming it as a baby. Hence, breast milk. If you ever changed a diaper of a newborn, it just goes right through them. They're building their gut. And a big part of that is that breast milk is feeding those gut flora. So because we're trying to develop that. But if they're not getting that first gulp and they're coming out through the skin, they're not getting their first bout of probiotics. They're not their gut flora. That's why when I have C-section kids, I always make sure I talk to the parents about every C-section kid should be on a baby probiotic, period. And they make some beautiful baby probiotics. I even sell one at my office now. And then not breastfeeding, of course, that first, it makes such a big difference with gut flora. First, it says establishing of the normal gut flora in the first 20 days is crucial. So it's important. We already talked about antibacterial soaps. I mean, Jesus, the link to that with triclosan and cancer is wild. Well, duh. How does that antibacterial soap says 99% of bacteria it kills? Well, how do you know if it's good or bad? It's 99% of all of them. And by the way, that last 1%, if that didn't kill him, who did it kill? The mean, nasty, horrible guy. So now we're in trouble. So we really that's why I say hand washing, beautiful. But I would say that careful with antibacterial soaps. Fear of kids getting dirty. I already talked about that. Our diet, that high sugar processed crap is really hurting our gut flora. That's why I don't agree with the yogurt for probiotics. It's just too high in sugar. Milk is one of the highest sugar sources when it comes to dietary intake. So I'm always about kimchi. You can do kimchi, you can do fermented foods, but also taking probiotics are huge. My other big pet peeve. So my German cousins came to visit me right before COVID. I love them so much. And they live outside of Munich. It's the freaking Alps. Like you walk out the door. I stayed with them a few years ago, and you walk out her door and it's like the Alps. And I'm like, where is Julie Andrews with the hills are alive? Like it was literally, it felt like that. There were like rainbows over the Alps. It was unbelievable. There was a running trail. Mary would have been all over that. Um, but you drink their water out of the tap because the Germans are so freaking proud. Anytime you go to Europe, they're so proud of their water. They're like, oh yeah, drink the water. Even when I was just in Amsterdam, they're like, drink it from the tap. We have beautiful water. They're so proud of it. So my German cousins come here before that, and we're having dinner at one of the restaurants downtown, and they're like, why does your water, what does it smell like a swimming pool? Because they chlorinate it. It's disgusting. Chloride's not just bad for our gut. I mean, what do you use chlorine for in your pool? To kill the bacteria. So what are you doing when you're drinking this crap? We're killing our bacteria. It's wild, right? It's like no wonder every kid has allergies. No wonder we all have allergies, right? It's part of it. I have a Berkey Barrow. Berkey, I think, is now a thing again. Thank God, because they're great products. Barrow's the other one that's really good if you just want like a low cost. If you don't want to do the whole thing on your house to filter the water, especially in Beverly, where we have fluoride, chlorine, all that stuff that destroys our gut flora and our thyroid. Those are really good products for that. No, I do. See, here's the thing too about me teaching nutrition. I don't get a kickback for any of these things. These are just things I recommend that I do. I should get a kickback. I got to work on that. But the other one, which is a big hot topic now that I've been talking about for a long, long time, is glyphosate. The pesticide sprayed on GMO crops is horrific for our gut flora. It changes our gut flora in the flora in our gut. It's also an endocrine disruptors. I mean, Jesus, talk about infertility, cancers, miscarriages. It pains me how many of my patients are struggling to get pregnant when we're just have pesticides, endocrine disruptors everywhere. And this is one of the big parts of that. You know, it destroys your blood-brain barrier as well. So it's just awful. And so what is a genetically modified organism? What they're doing is they're taking seeds, they're modifying them so that these pesticides don't kill them. But what the problem is, you wonder why all of a sudden, hey, where were the celiacs like 10 years ago? Have you noticed it's gotten worse? It's because we can't eat our wheat because we've modified it so bad. It's hurting us. Our bodies don't know what to do with this crap. And that's why you can go to like the celiacs can go to Italy and eat the pasta and not feel sick. It's because of how we genetically modify these seeds. It's horrible. We need to stop this. And of course, the big ones are corn, soy, cotton, canola. By the way, don't even get me started about canola. I think I talk about this every time, right? When I talk about so if it's corn oil and cotton oil and soy oil, what the hell is a canola? It's a byproduct of Canada. Is it what? Stay away from that. Just stay away from this stuff. Don't just don't do it. But I added this year because now we have so much research on glyphosate. This is the main pesticide they use. The gut disruption, duh, we know that. So these are studies that came out. Liver damage, kidney damage. This is interesting. So one of my patients I love so much. She's one of my like nutrition gurus. She's a nutritionist, a dietitian for kidney clinic, and she's one of the smartest women I know when it comes to nutrition. She is my guru. She came in today. I go, oh, you would love my nutrition workshop. I was like, dude, I was researching some of the glyphosate studies. She goes, oh, dude, don't get me started in the kidney clinic. But she goes, we have so many patients from El Salvador because that's one of the biggest sprayers of pesticides. And apparently in El Salvador, they just line up for the dialysis with cash, hoping that they get in because these are young people who literally kidney failure. And she says this all, she goes, we see it. We see the kidney failure come out from this. She goes, don't get me started about what we see in clinic. The crazy thing is there was a study that came out about this kidney damage issue that we're drinking water, our safety in our water. So when you get those studies that say, oh, our water is great. Okay. Well, it's 70 times below what the government says is safety for glyphosate in our water is what they're approving. Like that's insane. Hormone disruption, I put that in capital letters because it's literally it pains me to see what's going on with women right now, with our hormones and health and infertility, and it's awful. And this is a big problem with it. Atrazine, I don't even really talk about, is a pesticide that they use and that you could take a tadpole, and if you guys saw the study, and confuse its sex by exposing it to atrazine. And this is in our food. So it makes you wonder about endocrine disruptors. We were just talking about, it's funny, I was talking about with her too about the pesticides that McDonald's use. I can't stand that it's even a thing anymore. It's disgusting. McDonald's French fries, people are like, oh, but it's just potato, right? There's a reason why every French fry at McDonald's looks the same. They have no cuts, they have no bruises. Go to Flip the Bird. Shout out to Tori and Anthony, my two favorite. I love them. Go support a local family who's amazing versus going to McDonald's and knowing that their French fries are so disgusting. They spray it so bad with pesticides because they have to look the same that the farmers cannot go into their farmland, the crops, for 2 to 3 days after. It's that toxic. We see this with Parkinson's has been linked to golfers. Why? What do they spray that grass with to make it look like that, right? And the runoff from the water into those communities that live near golf courses. There is an Alzheimer's link to that. We got to do something. And if we don't speak up, this is going to become a bigger problem. Collagen, the reason I went over collagen, I've been going over collagen for years because collagen, and I will tie it together, I promise. Collagen is what holds our body together. And if you're not eating organ meat, right? We talk about nose to tail, like organ meat, bone broth, nose to tail animals like we used to, you're not getting proline and glycine. If you're not chewing on bones, right? As Americans, what do we usually eat? Chicken tenders, right? We're not eating bones and organ meat. This is how you get proline and glycine, which is in collagen. 30% of your body is collagen. Think of our skin, think of your joints. The big one of that for joints, and as a doctor who deals with musculoskeletal stuff, your discs are made of this. Glycine, so I said proline glycine, glycine, tendon meat is what holds together your tendons, right? Glyphosate, the pesticide, will actually compete for glycine. And I'm always, how many people are like on this? I have patients all the time. They get on the soccer field, they take a step, and they blow their knee out. Dude, we wouldn't be, if humans wouldn't be around anymore if we were running from a freaking bear and we blew our tendons out like that. Why? Because everyone is so deficient in collagen, and on top of that, they're eating foods with glyphosate. So our tendons are so easily ruptured. We wouldn't be around anymore if every time someone stepped, they blew an ankle or blew a knee, right? And we're wondering why with women, our hair, right? Our hair, our skin, you lose collagen as you get older, especially as a woman. So they say that's one of the big three. That's magnesium, collagen, and creatine are big for perimenopause, menopause. So it's huge to take that as an adult or as you age, especially for women. It's also important for metabolism, bone health, even more so than calcium. Collagen holds your bones together. So, and most people have zero collagen in their diet. People aren't eating bone broth, skin of animals, and organ meat, unless you are. Congrats, love that. Actually, you know what's funny? You can take pills of liver and organ meat. They do have the pills as supplements that you can take too, and it does make a hell of a difference, especially for women. Um, the other big disturbing thing is there's a lot of genetically modified organisms in in um, formula. It makes me so upset I can't even talk about it because these poor kids who have no choice of what they're eating are having, and Similac is the one that they say is better for allergies or whatever. 49%, 66% because it's mostly soy. So these poor kids, before they're even developed, are getting exposed to these genetically modified products. It's wild. They actually did a study more recently on cereals. You guys want to guess the number one pesticide cereal was? You're going to hate this. Cheerios. And what do they do give kids as like one of the first foods? Cheerios. So these poor kids never had a chance. We're watching these kids grow up. Tell me, I mean, I wish I had actually, I do have a teacher here. Are we seeing worse neurologic issues or better? Are your classes more full or are they less full? It's gotten horrible. I have my first grade kindergarten teachers coming in here going, dude, no one has these kids. They have no executive function at all. We're screwing them up from the time they can't make these choices. So why is this important right now? Why am I getting really passionate about it? And I've been talking about this for 10 years. So why am I like flustered right now talking about this? Because in a couple weeks, there's a huge Supreme Court ruling going to be going on. Bayer is trying to get immunity to this. And I don't know, I'll probably get bleeped on Facebook right now. I might get taken off because they don't like when people talk about this stuff. But I'm small beans. I'm a small fry. I don't know if they'll see it. But the U.S. Supreme Court is going to be ruling on this. And if they get it passed, you cannot sue the pesticide companies for cancer, kidney damage, or whatever it causes your family. They're going to give them a legal shield. So that's something that we all have to be aware of and contact obviously our senators about it. It's wild. So I think the safest thing to do, bottom line, is go organic. The Dirty Dozen, if this isn't in your slides for some reason, I was struggling with the picture, just go to the EWG, the Environmental Working Group. They're amazing. They talk about makeup that doesn't have toxins in it. They have the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. So if you're like, okay, organic's too expensive, which is weird because it's cheaper than buying Oreos, but that's okay. The Dirty Dozen, these are the ones you want to stay away from. Strawberries and blueberries are always on there. Any type of berry you do not want to eat if it's not organic. Apples, have you guys been seeing the TikTok thing go around where they're scraping the wax off of the non-organic apples? Woo! And we have apple orchards around here. Go local. Clean 15, those are the ones that you can get away with not doing organic, with onions. I would say with papaya is mostly genetically GMO'd anyway, but avocados, actually, that's one that you can kind of skip out of. So they kind of help you out if you want to save some money, which takes me to my first word, which is eat. I've been running out of words, so just bear with me, okay? All right, so let's dig into seed oils, and I'm gonna do my best not to spend the whole time on that because I knew I was gonna get all upset about the glyphosate thing because it's such a big thing going on right now. So omega-3 versus omega-6. So what's with the thing about seed oils? Why is everyone's like, oh, stay away from seed oils, seed oils, seed oils? Seed oils are not really the problem as much as our balance. Seed oils are very high in something called omega-6. And if we have balance with omega-3, we're okay. The problem is the way we eat as Americans. Again, they're both very important. They're polyunsaturated fatty acids. You need both of them to survive. Here's some really cool biochemistry for both of you guys. Omega-3, you want to think leaves. And the reason fish oil is so great is because fish eat algae and then they have the process and ability to convert that to EPA and DHA. So you're getting both EPA and DHA, which you hear a lot with pregnant women, that DHA is important for neurodevelopment, but EPA is just as important. Omega-3, they're like the fatty acids that are more flexible. That's what you want in your cell walls, especially your arteries. Omega-6 is more sturdy and rigid. So back in the day, we used to have 3-to-1 fish omega-3 to omega-6 in our body, and now it's 10-to-1. So I think we have a balance issue, a little bit, right? So why is this a problem? Because if they're not in balance, you're going to see more heart disease, stroke, rheumatoid arthritis, so anything inflammatory. Because the problem is omega-6 is very inflammatory, whereas omega-3 is the opposite. So how do I get omega-3s? That's fine. That should say, what do omega-3s do? This is not really how we get omega-3s. I apologize. Apparently when I updated the slides, I did not do a good job. But it's okay. I'm here. We'll talk about it anyway. So omega-3s, what are they? Oh no, how do I get them? Okay, I see. Cool. It's been a long week. It's only Wednesday. Yikes. Okay, so how do I get omega-3? We start here with ALA, which actually is funny. I'll talk about what I started. And then it gets converted all the way down to EPA and DHA, which are the two important omega-3s. DHA is more brain, nervous system. That's extremely important in kids. You think your retina of your eye, all that stuff. It's so important to have DHA for that, for your eyes, your brain. EPA is more the anti-inflammatory guy. So whenever someone has a lot of inflammation in their body, it probably means that they need to take some more, to take fish oil. Everyone actually should be taking fish oil, but it's the anti-inflammatory. So like, if I sprain an ankle or, a concussion's a great example of that because you have inflammation in your brain. Great way to help to get on the other side of a concussion is to take high dose omega-3s. It really helps with that because it's brain and it's anti-inflammatory. So this is the issue, right? Fish, like I said, fish eat algae, make omega-3. But what do farm-raised fish eat? They don't eat, they eat corn. And what is corn, guys? We went back to, it's GMOs. I didn't even go that far. Omega-6, seeds, they're not leaves, right? So are fish going to be producing omega-6 or omega-3 if they're eating seeds, not leaves? There's our problem. So if someone says to me, well, I eat a lot of fish, I don't need to take omega-3s. I'm like, well, is it wild fish or is it farm raised? By the way, if it says Atlantic, they're being jerks. Atlantic is actually farm raised from Atlantic descent. It has to say the word wild in order to be an omega-3 source. Meat, grass-fed, grass-finished, 100% better for you. I don't care if you like corn-fed better. Of course you do, because grains are delightful for people who, they spike the sugar levels, right? But if you're eating a lot of meat and you're eating them that's not grass-fed, you're going to have a high omega-6. So the whole thing that, steak or meat is bad for our arteries. Well, if you're eating grass-fed, you're not having inflammatory stuff. So it's not as bad for us. It's actually really good for you. So grass-fed meat has that omega-3 in it, which is awesome versus the fish, which versus the corn-fed, which is just it. And also, my God, we're going to talk about this later, but it causes so many issues when you feed a cow grain. They're not supposed to eat grain. It causes us issues too. The issue I have with veganism, sorry, if it's an ethical thing, I get it, go for it. But my big issue, if you're a vegan and you're not eating fish, ALA, the problem with eating flax is you're way up here. Our body doesn't convert this as well as fish do. That's the reason we're supposed to eat fish in the wild. Flax, hemp, pumpkin seeds, walnuts, that's how you get ALA. But the problem is it's only a 5% conversion rate. And also I've read a lot about flax and how it interferes with estrogen. And you really have to be careful in women's health if you eat a lot of flax. Vitamin D. Vitamin D. Why do we need vitamin D? 4 things: immune system. I would say bone health, brain health, sex hormones, and your immune system. So important, especially in us New Englanders who don't get enough sunlight during the winter. But what's really interesting is you have to have cholesterol. The sun will combine with cholesterol to make vitamin D. A lot of people don't know that. So I feel like cholesterol's got this bad rep, but we need it or else you're not going to produce vitamin D. 42% of the population is deficient in vitamin D. Can you imagine if that is everyone, including like Florida, California? What do we look like? Holy crap. We all should be. And no wonder like everyone was sick this winter, right? Because we're D deficient. We need to have more vitamin D. Here's the pathway, sun with cholesterol, we get our vitamin D, and vitamin D is incredible for our immune system and everything. I mean, seasonal affective disorder, why are people depressed? D is insanely important for your brain health. So if you're not getting enough D, you're not your brain. This is, like I said, these are things we should be looking at when people are depressed. We should look at their gut flora, their vitamin D levels, and these you can test this stuff. Their omega-3 levels. If you have a lot of inflammation, we know that has to do with neurologic disorders, right? So important. So I would love to talk about cholesterol because I feel like people are finally understanding that it had a bad rep from the Framingham stories, which were a long time ago. The follow-up studies um, were not as positive for them, for their outcomes. But our brain is 25% cholesterol, and there's only two studies that have ever been done to leak heart disease and saturated fat, which is interesting. This is the interview I was listening to this winter, talked all about this. Cholesterol, you need it for D, for all the fat soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K, including sex hormones. If you're a male and you have low testosterone, you got to get your cholesterol, your vitamin D checked. But also, if you're on statins, that's why we see a lot of cholesterol lowering drugs interfering with male testosterone, right? I won't go too far into that because no one wants to hear me talk about that. Um, no, Tammy, I'm not afraid to talk about it, but I can't. We'll it was. People were obsessed with it, and now, right. And now, what are we seeing with this generation? They're all suffering from Alzheimer's and dementia because you take away cholesterol, you take away brain function, right? And these statin drugs. George Mann wrote a great. He was a researcher, and he wrote a great book about it. How they made him brain dead. Um, it's not, there's a lot of side effects. It destroys your coenzyme Q, which is important for cancer, and of course your vitamin D. You can't make vitamin D without cholesterol. The LDL is the bad guy. So it was actually funny. The interview, if you guys want to listen to, it was one of Mark Hyman's guys that he interviewed. This cardiac surgeon, really awesome, and they were talking about cholesterol, and he was talking about the lack of studies that actually prove that LDL is linked to heart attacks, which is interesting. It was a great controversial interview, but it was excellent. Definitely go check that out. I am a big fan of Mark Hyman and his podcast. When I met him, it was awesome. I actually made him laugh a little bit. He's a little dry, but his interviews are fabulous, and he does have some really good information. It's probably one of my favorite ones to listen to. Um, Fat, I think we're finally understanding this. The keto diet, thank God, passed, but we still need healthy fats in our diet. It's so important. I know everyone's focused on protein now. It's like, I feel like we go through these phases. First, it's no carbs, then it's no fat, then no carbs, and it's like, it's crazy. But fat soluble vitamins A, D, and E, and K, like I talked about earlier, you need them. That's why my vitamin D is an organic olive oil. What's so important about fat, and this is what's so important about the fatty acids, every cell in our body. You guys remember cellular biology back in the day? Remember that cute little phospholipid bilayer? They look like little sperm. See, if you say that, you guys remember it, right? They do. They're really cool. And they line every cell in your body. So it's important for cells to bring stuff in, take stuff out. If your lining of your cells in your body are made of inflammatory fats, how healthy are you going to be, right? Your skin. This is why the healthy fats are so important for things like your skin, your every cell in your body. You need healthy fats. Our brain, right? All of 50% of our cell membrane is fat, and there's even cholesterol in there. So it's always important. I love Mark Hyman has before he had his podcast, he had a great book, and I hate the title. It's called Eat Fat, Get Thin. That has got to be a marketing thing. It should be Eat Fat, Get Healthy. But it is a really good book if you guys want to read one of his books. And fats also it's a super brain food. It's so important. Like I said, post concussion, you got to up your healthy fats and especially fish oil. So important for us. Fat does not make us fat, which I think we understand now, which I'm actually really excited that this finally came to be. So here's my thing about meat. It's not the meat that's the problem, it's how we process it. This sounds like a lot of things I talk about tonight. It's how we process it. Our farming practices suck. We have way too much antibiotics. I think finally people we're seeing more and more companies take antibiotics out. I think people are finally fighting back. We always used to say vote with your dollars. If we vote for the stuff and we buy the stuff, they're going to have more options. I'm seeing grass-fed meat at Market Basket now. Go Market Basket. Costco, it's really cool that people are finally like selling these products because people are understanding that this is what's hurting us. The living conditions, oh my God, if you ever want to be grossed out, drive Highway 5. So I used to go to school at UC Davis, which is like up here by Sacramento. And of course, my family was in LA. So I used to drive Highway 5, which is the most boring drive. When you guys think of driving through California, y'all think of the coast. Okay. Longest drive, 12 hours. No one wants to do that. It's a 5 hour shot down on Highway 5. You go by a ranch. It's like called, I think it's still called Harris Ranch. I wonder if it's still there. And we used to call it Cowschwitz. It was disgusting. All dirt and cows like lined up. You could smell it for like way before you even get there. So disgusting. And you look at these cows and they're like standing around their filth and they were proud of this as they're cattle ranchers. They were definitely not eating grass. So, limiting like anything in moderation, but grass fed is great for you and there's some great sources. The problem if you're not eating grass fed, right? These poor cows, they're not good at digesting grain. What's really interesting is people think that we should go vegan for our environment, right? Cows kill the ozone layer. Cows only hurt the ozone layer if you feed them corn because they produce methane. Grass-fed cows don't. So if we actually gave them the food they need, because why if cows were the problem? We would have had problems a long time ago. It's what we feed the cows that's the problem. And then, by the way, within 5 days of switching a cow from corn to grass, E. coli went away, 80%. So we always see like E. coli outbreaks in spinach. No, it's from the cattle and it's the runoff that goes into the farm. So we need to start doing better. So buy grass-fed organic as best as you can. I used to, I'm always still a big advocate of when Trader Joe's has their grass-fed. Tender Crop Farm up the street has amazing grass-fed local meats. That's where I get my grass-fed from. Also, the Walden subscription has been really good to me. I really like that as well. And then nitrates is a major issue. Making sure your meat doesn't have nitrates in it, especially bacon. The best, like hot dogs, do you know what the big difference between having hot dogs with nitrates and no nitrates is? The color. Get over it. Eat a hot dog that's not red if you want to have a hot dog and stop making us sick. Nitrates are very much linked to cancers, especially stomach cancers. Oh, David Beckham. Actually, what's funny? He did. Mark Hyman just interviewed him. He's a total like hippy dippy in his farm, and that made me so happy. He's got bees. Like, yeah, that's a great interview that came out. He's a lot older now. That's a great picture. I'm never going to take that picture down. But yeah, woo. I don't eat dairy because I can't tolerate it, and a lot of us can't. But there's some really nasty stuff in it, whether it's hormones, blood, pus, antibiotics. Casein's addictive. That's why when I tell people you need to give up dairy, they look at me like I told them like their animal died. Like, it's so funny. They're like, I can't give up cheese. Casein's addictive. And we're going to talk about food chemicals in a minute. The problem is we're so addicted to certain foods to our brain thinks we like them. It's like, are cigarettes, do they smell good? No. Why do people love them so much? Because they're addicted. So we're addicted to certain chemicals. Casein's very, very addictive. And that's in cheese. That's why people, when you say you give up cheese, they're like, they'd rather cut their arm off because it's an addiction, like sugar, unfortunately. Making sure if you're going to eat dairy, get grass fed. Oh my God, you guys see the whole thing about the grass fed butter, what's the Irish one? Oh, they're liars. There's some really crazy, Kelly Gold or whatever, right? That's it. Huge lawsuit right now. Yeah, there's some lawsuits going on right now. Wild stuff, but it's crazy. Like, how dare they? How dare they mislead people, right? And everyone's like, but I need calcium. I need calcium. You're so much better with leafy greens for calcium than milk. Milk is actually basic, and we need acid to absorb calcium. By the way, like I have crazy awesome bones. If you want strong bones, take collagen. There's also a problem, when you drink milk, you get the foam. I don't know, I don't drink milk anymore, but you get that seal kind of thing. The film that actually blocks your gut from absorbing the calcium from it. So it's in it. I mean, I could say I have calcium in my shoe and you can eat it, but doesn't mean you're going to absorb it. No, please don't eat my shoe. I like the shoe. And of course, sugar. Milk has sugar in it. So of course it's addictive. Sugar is more addictive than cocaine, right? Rat studies. Rats go for sugar over cocaine on studies. And that's why when we get to the implementation part, I'm going to talk about you can't be hard on yourself. Giving up an addiction is one of the hardest things in the world. So that's why it's so hard to give up sugar. Which takes me to the second word, which is real. Where am I going? Oh, I don't know. Second word is real. So for the at home, make sure you write that down so you can email that back to me. All right. So speaking of which, that was a great segue. Let's talk about how the heck my head is spinning. Where do I go from here? All right. So let's just go over a couple things that will make a huge difference. Rule number one, read labels. And I'm not just talking about food. I'm talking about prescriptions. I am talking about, I had no idea, because we're going to talk about dyes, that how many dyes, actually, I was talking to my friend's pharmacist about it. He goes, oh, you didn't know that? Are in like Tums. Like, holy crap. So you're taking something to stop your antacid, but you're giving yourself ADHD. Cool, cool, cool. Okay. Um, maybe you should not eat things that give you acid or make you sick. Maybe your body's trying to tell you something, right? Like it's crazy to me. Read labels and stay away from my no-no list. Don't worry, we'll get to my no-no list. Shop local. I mean, geez, we have some really cool farms around here. Tender Crop Farm. If you want to give me a kickback, I'm in. Always take one step at a time. If you go home and throw everything away, you're gonna hate me, and I like you guys. I don't want you to hate me. You guys at home, I like you too. But take it one step at a time. Add before you eliminate. We're gonna talk about some vitamins and supplements which will help you if you add healthy things. You're not gonna crave, you know, especially with children. So these poor kids, right? We addicted them to foods like sugar, and now we're trying to get them off of it. No wonder kids have meltdowns when they don't get their cake because they're addicted to sugar, right? But giving them healthy food, like tricking them, maybe making a smoothie and putting some greens in it, whatever you give your palate, it's going to want more of. And so adding things to your diet will really help. And of course, if you have a lot of food noise, I'm hearing a lot about food noise lately, those are addictions and your body is deficient. So find out what you need to put in your body. Give your body some better food so you don't have that. Exercise. Isn't it funny that when we exercise, we crave healthier foods? It's really funny because you don't want that to go to waste. Right? My one of my favorites. Don't fuel your body where you fuel your car. Actually, you know what's funny? Gas stations are getting better. Where was I? There was a really cute York Beach has the cutest like gas station that has like smoothies. I was like, what is this? And like, I got like a kale smoothie at a gas station. I'm like, what am I in California? And Go Common Man, my favorite. Oh, I love it. They have so many great options too. It's so funny. So I'm laughing. Parasympathetic eating. This is something I'm trying to work on. They say that you eat less and you do way better if you're not eating while you're on the phone. You're not eating while you're watching TV. You're actually focused on the food and chewing your food because you have digestion starts in our mouths, especially if you have a lot of stomach issues like acid issues. You got to chew your food more. If you're a fast eater and you have stomach issues, there's a big link there. So chewing our food more, slow eating, because that you got to give your digestion time to catch up with your brain to tell you you're full, right? So not eating as fast. Chewing more, like I just talked about, your digestive enzymes in your mouth are so important to help that process start. And actually, this starts this. It's all connected. So cool. Enteric system. Like, how cool is that? Change your habits, behaviors, mind frame. If you're a Dunkin's person, which, if you are, you are, maybe instead of getting the 4 sugar pumps, get 1. Start slow. You don't have to cut everything out completely today, but slow changes. Maybe if you're on Fridays, you guys go to the movies and you get a soda with your popcorn, maybe switch to water. There are small modification changes that will help you. Um, the behavior, that thought of I can have it, but I don't want it. And of course, the less sugar you eat, the more it adds up. Because, like I said, sugar is probably one of the hardest things to let go of because it's so addictive. I mean, like I said earlier, it's wild that you put rats in a study and they go after sugar before they go after cocaine. That's how addictive it is. Your body wants sugar because it's a fast energy source, but it's not good for us in high doses. We were never supposed to eat sugar like this concentrated. Oh my God, you want to be horrified? You guys know that new ice coffee bucket from Dunkin's? 40 grams of sugar. Oh, yeah, right. It's all right. They can't hear you. But that's like diabetes in a bucket. And then add horrible female hormones issues because insulin has a lot to do with our female hormones. On top of that, oof, not good. And horrible for our brains too. Oh, I know. I'm gonna get nothing from Dunkin's, and I'm gonna get a subscription for Tender Crop Farm. They're gonna make me their poster kid. But I've been talking about them for a long time. So where do I start for adding stuff? Fish oil and probiotics. We just talked about those too. Take a high quality supplement. We sell I love Innate Choice because this is an angry researcher that tested all of them on the market. That's why you have to be a practitioner to sell it. Please don't buy fish oil from CVS or Walgreens or any of those big box stores. You have to be careful with fish oil. It's an expensive process, and so it shouldn't be cheap, but it's worth it. It's a lot cheaper than a heart attack. It's a lot cheaper than brain disorders, okay? So fish oil is so important. Make sure it's mercury tested, small fish, cold water. They have a bunch of things that you have to really look for. That ratio, you want to make sure that ratio is high. And then a really high quality vitamin. Stay away from Centrum and one a day. You're just flushing your money down the toilet. And of course, vitamin D. I take a ton. I was actually just talking about this today. I take about 8,000 IU's during the winter. Did I miss work this winter? I don't want to jinx it, but did I miss work? Did I call in sick on you guys? Oh, I wonder why. Drink more water. You know what's funny? I love admitting this at this workshop. I'm not a water drinker. I hate water. Molly will tell you, I'm not a water drinker. You'll see one of two things, because my water will always look funny. If you see me with water out here, it has collagen in it, which I love my strawberry lemonade collagen, or it has my creatine in it because that means I worked out and lifted weights today, and that gives me a ton. If you ever see me like wound up in the office, it's usually because I had that creatine that has taurine in it. It makes me like, woo, good energy. It's good stuff. I need more energy. I always say this: shop around the outside of the market. Why? Because that's usually where the crap isn't, right? So start with that. And you shouldn't shop hungry. I know that's probably one of my worst ones, because if you don't buy it, you won't eat it. So if you buy a lot of those Ritz crackers and pretzels or whatever, and you have it at your house, what are you going to go for? That's what you're going to go for. So buying healthy snacks that are easy to go, like we'll talk about nuts, or I love my little chomp bars, the meat sticks. I love them. They're one of the few companies that has not been bought out by big food, thank God. Trying new recipes. I love doing this. It's fun. And it's good for your brain too. Try making my balls. They're in your slide. So, and those are really, actually the protein balls that I make, it's a choose your own adventure. You put whatever you want in them. And it's so easy. I leave them on my desk. They're my grab and go, and they're filling because there's a ton of protein in it. So you're not going to be hungry in the next hour. Food prep. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Food prep. Oh man, that is my jam. Sundays. If you're with one, like my friends know, they're like, do you want to go for an early dinner or do you want to food prep first before we go out to dinner outside there or whatever? They know Sunday I love making that big meal, and then, food prepping for the week. I love doing that. I can make my protein balls or my chia pudding. I've been really into chia pudding lately. But there's a bunch of things that I'll make during the week because I'm busy. I got to go home. I got to work out. I got to get back to work. So having quick food, that's already ready for me, it's so easy. Like I brought a salad with chicken to a meeting I had today. If you food prep, you're going to have it there. You're less likely to eat out. Snacking on veggies and nuts, fruit, and then, like I said, I love my beef sticks. I love my chomp bars. They're grass-fed beef, awesome. Sneaking in greens anywhere you can. I love doing this, and I love pissing my people off in my life that don't want me to sneak greens in, because spinach you can shrink really small. So I love throwing that in like sauces and chilies, and I love putting greens in just about everything, right? Because it's so good for us. That lecture that I listened to, that I got to the ski mountain and was like, I'm so like pumped about micronutrients. You know what the big one they talked about was broccoli, the little sprouts. So I went and bought some broccoli sprouts from Whole Foods because they're awesome. Apparently they're insanely good for us for micronutrients. Like I was like, okay, whatever, that's easy. I'll just throw it in my salad or throw it on whatever I'm eating. And they're really good. Cook with good fats. There was I think it was Just Ingredients is a really great Instagram account. And they just said, I cook with this, not that. So my big ones are coconut oil. I love coconut oil. Oh my God. I use it to take my makeup off my face. And it does work. I've been using it forever. I think that's why my eyelashes haven't really, they're still pretty thick. Because as we get older, of course, they thin. But I think that the coconut oil has kept them thin because they say it's good for your hair. But I use it to cook. And then avocado oil is my other favorite one to cook with. So, because olive oil is wonderful for you, but you're not supposed to heat up at high heat because it's not good. That's not good. So, trying cauliflower rice. I love making cauliflower fried rice. It's really delightful. Zoodles, you can switch out. There's so many now, like pastas that are not pastas that are actually quite good. Just read the labels and make sure, because what drives me nuts is I was like, but they're gluten free. And I'm looking at the ingredients going, ugh. Just because it's gluten free doesn't mean it's healthy. You gotta read the ingredients. And then collagen, oh my gosh, I put it in everything. If I'm making protein waffles, my collagen's going in. My protein balls, collagen's going in. Rarely drink coffee without collagen nowadays, and it's such an easy fix because now I'm not putting sugar and whatever non-dairy creamer in my coffee. Now I'm putting collagen, and I have a mocha. And if you don't like chocolate, you can just put regular in it, and you don't even try it. But I throw collagen in just about everything, and I just sneak it into everything. So my no list, this is one of those do the best you can situations because I'm not here to overwhelm you guys, but this is really nasty crap, all of this. And a lot of this is banned in other countries for a reason. This is why I love when I go to Germany, I bring back my friend's Haribo because their gummies there don't have dyes and they don't have high fructose corn syrup. Other countries make fun of us for this, and this is why we're the sickest, one of the sickest countries out there. We're like the richest. There's no excuse for this shit. Partially hydrogenated oils, watch out for that. That's trans fat. They'll say zero trans fat, but they still could have it in there. High fructose corn syrup. If you want to destroy your liver, it's a great way to do it. You know what's funny? A lot of people don't know this. I actually learned that Tito's is actually from corn, not from potato. It's made from corn alcohol. So very GMO, very pesticide filled. I stopped drinking Tito's when I found that out. But another one which we knew was beer. If you're drinking like Bud Light, they don't have to put their beer on their labels. You're drinking like, these awful corn syrup beers. They do put corn syrup in some of these beers, especially Bud Light, a bunch of them. So you see these guys with these bellies, the beer belly. The booze, it's actually from the corn syrup because your corn syrup destroys your liver and now you have fluid accumulated in your belly. So maybe try drinking something else, or that's a liver issue. So things like castor oil packs or liver supplements are really good to get rid of that belly because that's usually a liver issue. You don't want liver issues. We need our liver. MSG, monosodium glutamate, it's the reason why if you eat nasty Chinese food, you're hungry an hour later. It is a neurotoxin, which means it's great for brain cancer and destroying your brain. It's addictive as heck. Hey, guess what's in Chick-fil-A? Hey, guess what's in McDonald's? Why do you think people smell it and they want it? It is highly addictive. So it's not, it tastes like meat, by the way. If you ever want to make something taste like meat, we go back to my shoe, put some MSG on it. You will eat it. You'll think it's meat. Is it healthy for you? Absolutely not. And then you'll want more of it because it's a chemical and it's so addictive and it's obviously not legal in other countries. Hey, guess what? They're hiding it now because people are learning about MSG. They're calling it yeast extract and putting it in things like healthy chips. So watch out for it. I'm actually allergic to it. My whole family is. We get sick as a dog from it. It's like a really quick stomach flu. It's not fun. I don't recommend it. Aspartame, Splenda, any of these artificial sweeteners. Oh my God. I just laugh now every time a study comes out saying this gives cancer. No shit. Like really? Like anytime you see sugar-free, assume chemical shitstorm, or read the ingredients. Yes, I guess stevia is better. But when I make my banana muffins, they don't need to be sweetened because bananas are sweet enough, right? I should give you guys that one too. That's a good one. BHA and BHT, whew, you can find them in cereal, baked goods, definitely banned in Europe for cancer, but they're in our cereals, so something to watch out for. And this is on the slide, so you can always go back and yeah. And by the way, dyes, Jesus, they're banned in Europe for a reason. When with my focus concentration issues, especially back in the day, I probably would have been put on Ritalin if I was that generation. I can read books now between chiropractic care, taking fish oil, avoiding dyes. You won't see me any. By the way, do you guys know Ritz crackers are banned in Europe because of the yellow dyes? Isn't that nasty? Goldfish banned in Europe because of the dyes. And they probably make it there. They just don't put those stuff in that, which is wild. We don't need to. Carrageenan we already talked about, but avoiding these things. And the problem with things like MSG and aspartame is they are highly addictive. So they're making people want these foods that aren't even real foods. That's why you can put McDonald's in a bag for years and it doesn't mold. It's not real food. And they put these chemicals on it that make you crave it. So it's no different than cigarettes. So these things should be banned, but they're not. And trying to get off them, it's hard. It's an addiction. It's like trying to quit smoking. So doing your best of trying to limit them, and avoiding them so that you're not addicted to them anymore. Awful. All right. So does this seem healthy, guys? Help me read this label. Water, dextrose, which is sugar, sucralose, which is Splenda, acetylsulfame K, potassium acetylsulfame K, yellow 6 dye. Does that sound healthy? Would you guys drink that? Would you give it to your kids? Because some of you probably are, not you guys, but some of you guys at home. This is Pedialyte. Dextrose is a form of sugar from corn. So you're eating corn sugar. Yay, we already talked about that. Sucralose, artificial sweetener. Don't get me started about Splenda unless you want a little side of arsenic in your sugar. Splenda is horrible for your gut. It alters your GI. It alters your gut flora. Cancer issues, digestive issues. Acetylsulfame K affects the gut as well. Gut problems, which leads to cancer. So you see a theme here with artificial sweeteners. Yellow food dye, ADHD warnings in Europe for yellow dyes. That's why I stay away from them. But this is Pedialyte. What the heck? This is what people think that's hydrating on them. Yeah.
I'm so sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
There is high fructose corn syrup in baby formula, which is why they distinct, low sensitive, and regular.
I
Says
did
in
not
full
know
stuff high fructose corn syrup. It's
that.
labeled as its like scientific name. It doesn't say high fructose corn syrup. And
Jeez,
I know this
that's
because I deep
wild. Yeah.
dived on it.
Wow.
It's
Isn't
terrible,
that
which is
awful?
why babies will have reflux and
Of
colic
course.
and all these GI
Because
issues
their body is
because
rejecting the high fructose corn
because
syrup
they're
in the soy.
newborns and they're suffering.
Holy crap. Isn't that awful?
It's prevalent.
Awful. Yep. And we wonder why kids want sodas and sugary drinks and stuff because we already addicted them from,
Yep,
from
that's
when
how
they were
it works.
babies. Thanks. It's awesome.
Insane.
But of course, artificial sweeteners. So it's all about what we just talked about. It's about the next generation. We got to talk to people, breastfeed as best you can. If a baby's not turning its head, if a baby's not latching, you take them to a chiropractor. I have so many hilarious stories with my nurses in my office and the TMI. So I'll see one of their babies for latching issues. I'll adjust the baby, and this has happened now multiple times. They'll look at me and go, hey, I said, go nurse the baby because it's like end of my morning. Just go nurse the baby, and then I'll be in my office if you need anything. I just got to type up some report. They'll literally, babe on boob, come running into my office. Dr. Jamie, she wasn't going to the side before. I get this all the time, just like, cool. And I get that all the time. You'll actually hear that when you're getting adjusted in here. You'll hear that in the as parents are talking, like, oh no, my baby was so much better after the adjustment. So, oh, am I going over? Sorry, Tammy. And then of course, natural childbirth, first cup of gut flora, first gulp of gut flora. We got to educate parents. We got to get them off of these sugar cereals and check labels even for medicines and vitamins. I was just so blown away that things like Prilosec and Tums and stuff have dyes on their freaking, oh my God, on their pharmaceuticals. Give me a break. We got to get rid of those dyes, the corn syrup, the artificial sweeteners, go as organic as much as possible. Vote with your dollars. We're seeing that happen. We're seeing more grass-fed meat places because people are buying it. And of course, getting adjusted because if your baby's not breastfeeding, like I said, that's could be a chiropractic issue. Amazing. A couple adjustments like that. In those cases, one adjustment and baby was latching beautifully. And then you're saving them from a myriad of issues having to switch to formula because they're not latching. So it's cool. You can literally put them on a track to better health. And of course, as we adjust them, what is my nickname? Poop Wizard! Because constipated babies on my jam. And of course, like I said, newborn latch. But here's a few of my favorite books. I'm gonna add to it too. But yeah, here's the Eat Fat, Get Thin. Wheat Belly's really good, but then it's kind of depressing. Indefensive Food is great. For those of my readers out here, really awesome one that last year I was big on was Fast Like a Girl. Everyone talks about intermittent fasting. She talks about how we, as women, we need to do that differently. We're not little men. A couple of my favorite Instagram accounts. Glucose Goddess is really cool. She actually shows the studies of insulin spikes and how to dress up your carbs. It is an amazing cheat. And actually, it's a great way to lose weight too if people are want to eat less and have less food noise. Food noise. Gosh, people in there. These are these buzzwords nowadays. I just can't. Jolene Brighton, if you're into women's health, she's amazing. She talks about endometriosis, which is a huge issue. We're talking about endocrine disruptors. But a lot of these people, JJ Virgin's awesome. She's where I get my creatine from. Mark Hyman and my two favorite podcasts right now are Mark Hyman and Jolene Brighton. They're awesome. And there's so many more. Stacey Sims is so cool too. She's a tell it like it is fitness chick. But these are awesome, well qualified. Watch out who your influencers are and make sure they're qualified to give the information that they give. And by the way, if you want non biased information, just find people who aren't selling stuff. They're usually the best source and that have science based um, under their belt. So that takes me to my last word, which is food. Oh, I see where I went there. Cool. I love that. Our last word is food. So for those of you at home writing down, that's your last word. So I'm going to leave you guys with this. So we're right. Actually, we stayed right within an hour. So my one of my favorite sayings, right? You are what you eat. So don't be fast, cheap, easy, or fake. I love that. So those at home, send us the secret words. Just reply to the email that you guys got this afternoon. If for some reason you get the email, you can email our office, hello@allianceforlifechiropractic.com. Or if you want the slides, feel free to ask Molly or Betsy for the slides and they will send them right over. Send us the secret words so you guys get workshop credit. 4 credits, you get a gift card to our office. And hey, guys, the sun's coming out. Better food can start today. Exercise outside can start, soon, hopefully. And making better choices starts with you guys. And, if we put our money where our mouth is, I guess, people are going to have more products for us that are healthier. If we speak up, if we don't buy this crap, they'll stop selling the crap. So educate your friends and feel free to pass on this workshop. I don't mind pissing people off. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you guys in a couple months for the Healthy Movement Workshop. Bye, guys.